Mr. Gartner, we're here, Des Moines, Iowa, the Iowa Cubs. Tradition, 1981, I believe, since the franchise has been with the Chicago Cubs.
Right.
Is that the third longest in?
Well, Omaha's longer, and I think maybe the Red Sox out in Pawtucket. That's not counting those teams that are owned by their major league team, like the Braves own Gwinnett and things like that.
Mr. Gartner, you've had quite a broadcast experience. I was reading your bio. You've done quite a few things from television to print. Now you have the club, the Iowa Cubs. I mean, tell me a little bit about what brought you to purchasing the Iowa Cubs and obviously stepping out of maybe regular, we'll say, day-to-day journalism, but being sports journalism.
Well, my father started out in life as a sports writer, and so did I, and so I've always been interested in sports, and I worked in the sports department of the Register as a kid and all through college, and so I'd come down here as a boy, and then I went off and came back here 15 years later to be the editor of the Register, and had season tickets and would come down here all the time. And then one day in the late 90s, a friend of mine called me and said he heard the team was for sale. And I said, so what? He says, I think we ought to buy it. And I said, what do you mean we? I said, you don't have any money. And he said, that's why I said we. And so we bought it, and it's been great.
One of the things that I've noticed when I was reading your bio was you were talking about when you're in the newspaper business that you wanted to have the newspaper feel like the community owned it and it was theirs. And you kind of have that same philosophy.
Oh, sure. You want people to say our team. No, you don't want anybody to say your team. You want everybody to say our team, like our newspaper, and so you want them to feel at home. You want them to feel comfortable. You want them to feel that we're doing the very best job we can do to give them a great experience.
Mr. Gartner, something that I liked about your facility here is it wasn't built like last week or last year.
Oh no, I think it's the oldest. It's either the oldest. It soon will be the oldest park in the Pacific Coast League. I think when Colorado Springs moves down to Texas, will be the oldest park in the Pacific Coast League.
But what I like is this place feels like home. The maintenance is incredible. I mean, you couldn't tell that this was an old park. It's maybe an older park with new amenities and modern day amenities.
Well, first of all, you would never want to leave this spot because it's iconic. You've got the view of the Capitol right from home plate, and it's right in kind of right downtown Des Moines, where the two rivers come together. So you want to do everything possible to keep it in perfect shape. And also, the city owns the park, and it would cost these days to build a park like this. It would cost over $100 million. This was built for I think $12 million in 1990, between the 92 and 93 seasons.
What's it like seeing the players come through? I mean, we're in Indiana and we're close to the low A ball, but when we get here, I've noticed since I've been here, I've been to Wrigley Field a lot and see major league talent, but at the AAA, this is almost there. What's it like? And I look on the walls and I see Chris Bryant, modern day stars from Anthony Rizzo to Baez to Hendricks. What's it like seeing these kids come through here and then perform well on the major league level?
Well, first of all, you have to understand when you're in minor league baseball that minor league baseball is about player development and nothing else. And so once you understand that, you kind of figure it out. So you're hoping everybody goes up and becomes a star and makes $10 million a year. And it's fun to watch them. It's fun to talk to them. It's fun to see their mom and dads come and see them play and see all the hopes and dreams. And then when the Cubs played the 7th game in the World Series in Cleveland, of the 10 people in the starting lineup, they had designated hitters. So of the 10 people in the starting lineup, I think 9 had played here. And of the 25-man roster, I think 15 had played here, not just down on rehab, but had come through the system. That says a lot about a lot of things. First of all, it says the Cubs had a homegrown system, and you have to give the Ricketts great high marks for that. They made the occasional great trade as well, and then they developed these young men, and they're nice young men. They're nice young men. And especially when you're as old as I am and you see them, it kind of makes you not realize how old you are.
Mr. Garner, again, we've talked earlier, you've been in a wide variety of things. You started off, obviously loving sports. Is this, owning the club, is this one of the coolest things that anybody could ever do?
Well, I mean, yes, it's great, but you have to remember when P.K. Wrigley bought the Chicago Cubs, whatever year that was, in the early 30s or late 20s, he said baseball is too much of a sport to be a business, and it's too much of a business to be a sport. And well, Major League Baseball crossed that line a long time ago, but minor league baseball is still that way. I'll work, it is a business and you have to make it work. So in the morning, we're all in here, working hard, but in the afternoon I might be standing behind the batting cage, watching batting practice and talking to the pitching coach or talking to the hitting coach or the manager or things like that if it's a pretty day. So there's not a lot of heavy lifting in it.
What I liked is watching you and observing you the last few days. You're a hands-on guy, but you're down with the fans too, and that's what's really neat. I know that with the Ricketts, they like to sit down with the fans, and it's just kind of a new breed. And maybe some of the other sports like baseball aren't like that, but I really enjoyed that about yourself, watching you talk to the fans, because you know what's going on.
Well, you have to remember that the people who come down here, they want to see you. They want to see me. They want to see Sam Burnaby, who's the general manager, and they want to see my son. They want to see us. They don't want to complain. Very few people have any complaints, unlike the newspaper business, which is the major difference. But they just want to see you. They want to talk to you. They want to talk about yesterday's game. They want to talk about, did you see Castillo hit those home runs, or did you see whatever, in the Cubs game last night. A lot of them are true fans, and a lot of people are just down here for an evening out. It's cheaper than a movie. It's more fun. It's the perfect date night. As a young guy who worked for me told me 15 years ago, he says, the perfect place to bring a date. And I said, why? And he said, well, first of all, he says, you can talk to them and you can find out if they're smart or not. And he says, the main thing, and he says, and if you don't, you can get up and walk around and go out and get a beer, which is just the normal course of action. And he says, the main thing is you can find out if she knows anything about baseball. And if she doesn't know anything about baseball, it says, this will be the last date. But so you see your neighbors, you see your doctor, your lawyer, your auto mechanic, you see everybody down here, and they're all here to have a good time, and they want to see you, they want to talk to you. And if anybody has a complaint, boy, we want to hear it right away.
I'll finish with this. I mean, today it was a doubleheader. The game was rained out on Mother's Day. A doubleheader today. What I enjoyed was seeing all the school buses pull up and see these young kids. Because I can remember when I was a young kid going to Wrigley Field, but a young kid getting involved in baseball. Because quite frankly, we've got to grow that next generation, because it can't all be people your age and my age.
But you have to remember this: it's getting toward the end of the school year, and those teachers are getting squirrely, and they're looking for field trips. And so, we on a nice we have more afternoon games than any minor league baseball team. We like afternoon games here. We do well financially. The players like it. Gives them the evening off. The fans like it. And of course, we can fill it with kids. There'll be nice afternoons, on a Tuesday or Wednesday afternoon. There'll be 50 school buses lining the streets out there. And you're right, that's building future fans. It's just like before most games, I go down to the dugout and I steal a couple of baseballs, and the manager says, "You're not stealing them; you're taking them from yourself." But so then I'll wait till the 6th or 7th inning, and I'll look for a little kid with a glove who's watching the game, not messing around, and I'll say, "Did you catch any ball today, son?" He said, "No." And so I said, "See if you can catch this." Well, you throw them the ball and they catch it in their glove, and that night I'll get an email. They don't know who I am, but their dads will recognize me or something, or their moms, and I'll get an email, you've made a fan for life. And so you want people to be happy down here. You want them to come back. You want to keep it affordable, and you want to keep it clean.
I have one more question.
What's that?
Kind of reminded me of this. I have the sports side with my son. You mentioned that your son works there. How fun is that, having a family business and being around your family all the time, to have your love of baseball or love it or see it through your son's eyes?
Well, I like it. I'm not so sure how much he likes it, but I like it. I like it a lot to see him every day, and a lot. And he's got 2 kids who are 7 and almost 4, and his wife brings them down here on some days, so I get to see my grandkids more often than I normally would too. But so it's great.
Sounds like the next generation is being groomed at the ballpark.
Well, you never know. You never know what people are going to ultimately be interested in. But it's nice to have him here.
Thanks, Mr. Garner.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you.